Yeah.
So can I just comment a little bit on what Edgar said about getting up to the hill and wanting to unpack and get ready and launch straight away. When I go up on a hill, I never really want to rush it. I'd rather be left on the hill because the conditions have changed than take off prematurely and not have anticipated that the conditions were changing. You should. There should be try and minimise the number of surprises that occur when you're in the air. So if you know, even at Winton, there's a sea breeze come in. Everybody can use their phone to check how strong it is at the airport. So in 10 minutes' time, the air from the airport will be up at Winton. Is it going up at the airport? Is it going down? If it's going down at the airport, then you're pretty sure it's probably going to go down at Winton. You can do all those little checks before you launch. Don't just rush off blindly and then get nailed by a situation you hadn't anticipated.
You like surfing, where just sit and watch a few sets.
Yes, watch a few sets.
Yeah.
And be really sure, because
Especially
it's, better to be on the ground wishing you're in the air than the other way around.
Yeah. And the other thing I was just going to say on launching and setting up and stuff is don't be shy to tell somebody to just piss off. If you're clipping in and they're chatting to you, it's totally cool to go, sorry, just a sec, I'll talk to you in a minute. I just got to concentrate while I'm clipping in, because it's so easy to just get distracted talking to somebody and miss clipping something in or do it the wrong way. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty antisocial on launching actually, and I'm sorry about that. I'm happy to talk to people in the panic afterwards.
And also,
but some people, especially if I don't know you very well, I just got to get my head in my game, and I'm going flying today, and these are the decisions I'm going to make. So I don't want to be distracted by
a friend of mine's been coming along and just sitting and watching, and she said she loves the fact that there's just this silence, like we're all meditating when we're all unpacking and just concentrating, and
yeah, it's really important, I think.
Sorry. You go. No, Tim.
So I think on checklists, I need to come up with a checklist because I keep missing stuff, really dumb stuff. And there's actually quite a lot, especially if you've changed something recently, like you've moved your radio out to charge it or something. You really need a checklist before you leave, and a checklist when you're on the hill before you launch.
Yeah.
And I don't have one. I've got to have one. And one thing that I almost got caught out on was I went to Bali and was getting ready and set up, and I kind of gone through my internal checklist. And one of the things is reserves ready, right? And what I did is I just kind of touched the handle, and I wasn't thinking about it, but I touched the handle. I was like, yeah, reserves there. I don't know what, it's insane when I say it, but it's insane. But then just before I launched, someone said, your reserve's hanging out of your harness. And the zip had opened when I was traveling. And the actual bag was kind of half out. And so if I'd launched, it might have just fallen out. And then I would be near the cliff face with a reserve that had gone off. So now, every time if I'm strapped in and I'm going through the checklist, I haven't checked every part of my reserve zip. I'll take the harness off and check it and make sure the buckles are away. Just do the whole thing. And it was so good to have that, because if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't had something that close, I wouldn't probably be taking it as seriously.
So I haven't flown a plane myself in over 30 years. I still remember the checks.
Yeah.
That's how much they were drummed into me. I could still tell you exactly what they are.
Yeah.
And we do need that.
I keep saying I was going to sit down and write one down.
Yeah, maybe you could make a little poem and then make an acronym out of the most
Well, that's how we did it. So
things.
if you're going to land a plane,
it's
bump.
Say it.
Bump.
Yeah, bump. Yeah. Brakes, undercarriage, mixture masts and mags, climber hatches and harnesses. And I learnt that 35 years ago.
That exact incident happened a few years ago on Lemon Hill, where someone just had a small tumble on launch when trying to first launch, and then was like, oh, everything is okay, and just bring the glider up, start flying, and then the reserve deployed, and then he was just flying down the canopy and just landing on the side of the hill on a windy day. So then the next things to manage is an open, you're on the ground and you have this big parachute taking the wind, and it was yeah, it just needed people to help, like managing this big canopy open in the wind. So he was totally safe, and he ended up with just a few scratches, but it was pretty scary.
Well, it's like a general note about checklists, right? Don't just recite the checklist. Actually do the thing.
Yeah.
Actually check it. That was what I was doing wrong. So.
You can also ask people on launch, like, you know, if you had a tumble, you just ask someone like, hey, can you check the pin of my parachute is still in, or like, can you double check my clipping and stuff, like, especially.
We do with climbing. You know, you get somebody else, you get your partner to check your harness.
It's really important, and I would say don't hesitate to ask someone to have an eye on you if they're available. Obviously, not if they're busy with doing their own thing, but it's super helpful to have someone different, because you might be in your head, or you might have exactly like a bit kind of stirred up or whatever. But it's really nice to hey, can you just check me, I'm taking off, could you just make a look, because that person could just still say stop if they pick on someone on something. Like some guys on the French launches just pick a knot. I'd taken off, it was too late, but they actually picked a knot on one of my lines and actually contacted me on the radio, hey, you got a knot. And I was like, oh, thanks. You know, so at least I knew where to just go land, basically. But if someone else is looking at stuff, it's actually always helpful, like preferably before you take off. But, you know. Yeah.
I don't want to bring the tone down, but at Mystic there are like 6 chairs up there, and they're memorial chairs for people who've died flying at Mystic, and 5 of those, I think, I'm not sure of the exact figures, but I'm pretty sure that 5 of those didn't have their leg loops clipped down. So they just slipped out of their harness. And it's one of the biggest killers, because you don't recover easily from that. Like, it's once you're up in the air and you get collapses and stuff, you can do stuff about it, but people just take off and just slip straight out and like try to hang on and then can't hold. So one of the things I do after I've done everything, before I take off, even when I've got my glider and I'm front launching or back launching, I just put my thumbs up and just pull on the harness and make sure that I can feel it on my leg straps every time. Like, that's just part of my system.
Was that before they came up with the T-bar?
Doesn't matter, like, it's because you can still miss that. Like, and this is just a physical check that your harness isn't just going to slip up to here, that I actually feel it pull up against my legs, and like, I'll at least know that I'm mostly attached.
It's not going to be when you first get in and get ready to take off. It's going to be the day when you think, oh, I better check something, and you get out and then you jump back in a hurry.
Yeah, particularly with pods.
When your routine's broken.
Particularly with the pods, when you can just put the skirt, clip the skirt up. So yeah, the T-bar has pretty much stopped people falling out through the, from doing the waist strap up, but not getting the leg loops.
Yes.
But since then, you've now got people putting pods on, getting in and putting their deck across, and not having anything attached inside.
And you can't see anything because all of your pods all across it.
Flight deck, you can't see the leg loops.
Yeah.
On my
And if your flight deck clips in on both sides strongly, then you do run that risk that you haven't done anything else underneath.
Yeah. So leg loops are in the checklist, and you just got to actually check them. Like, actually, something either pull up on the harness or something. Just